What is going on, everyone? Mets Talk with Hayden J here. What is going on, everyone? I hope everyone is doing extremely well today. I'm most certainly doing well. What is going on? All right, audio sounds pretty crystal clear on my end. Little under the weather, by you could tell by my voice, but hey, we're just gonna power through this stream. Um, and yeah, all of that great stuff. So, like I said, what is going on, everyone? Mets Talk with Hayden J here. Hope everyone is doing extremely well. I'm most certainly doing well today. We got a ton of great stuff to talk in regards to the New York Mets. In today's stream, we are going to be covering the Milwaukee Brewers and New York Mets series. Talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. Maybe just more the bad and the ugly, not much of the good. So we're just going to be discussing what went wrong in that series, what went good for the Brewers, I guess. The rookies for the Brewers had a huge offensive series, so we're going to be going over that. And then, of course, going over the New York Mets and Miami Marlins home opener. As we know, we are only about an hour away from the first home game of the 2023 season for the New York Metropolitans. So we're going to be discussing that, going over the series preview. But before we get into that, everyone smash that like button, turn on those post notifications, give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, share this channel with your friends. If they're a Mets fan, a Marlins fan, a Phillies fan, a Rangers fan, I can care less. It's Mets talk with Hayden, but it's really baseball talk with Hayden. And then of course, if you have any comments, questions, concerns, feel free to drop it in the comment section below. So yeah, that is really all I have in regards to that. So I guess let's stop wasting any more time, and let's get into the New York Mets and the Milwaukee Brewers series summary. So not much went good for this New York Mets team this past week, as they got swept for the first time this season, even though it's literally two series in. They got swept by the Milwaukee Brewers, and this isn't much of a surprise. The Mets don't have the greatest of numbers when it comes to facing the Milwaukee Brewers. So nothing really too unusual, but it's definitely unfortunate to see this early in the season to get swept, considering one of the highest payrolls in baseball. But that aside, we could talk about that later. Let's get into game one. Getting into game one, the New York Mets lost game one, which I believe was Monday's game, and the Mets dropped that by a score of 10-0. They got absolutely beat up on. Carlos Carrasco pitched a total of 4 innings, giving up 4 hits, 5 runs, 4 walks, 4 strikeouts, 93 pitches, 53 of those were in the strike zone. So overall, we saw with Carlos Carrasco, he had a very hard time locating the strike zone. He just went out there and could not locate the plate, and it got to the best of him. We saw, his first 2 innings were pretty dominant. He was getting his stuff. Didn't give any runs up the first 2 innings, and then as his pitch count went up, we saw his velocity dip. Is that a result of the pitch count, of the pitch clock? I really don't know. His velocity dipped, very unusual in a pitcher. We know he's 36 years of age. He's a veteran. Just overall a very unacceptable outing. Point is, he got his shit rocked. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm not going to say it any other way. He did. And yeah, he got taken out. He suffered with the long ball, some light contact, and defensively the defense did what they could, but when they're hitting the ball hard up the gap and down the line, there's only so much your defense could do behind you. So Carrasco just overall didn't really have a good start. Like I said, we saw that velocity dip, very unusual. His off-speed stuff looked okay. He had a little bit of a hard time locating it. So, it is what it is. But I guess essentially right now, we'll just hope and pray that Carrasco can go out his next outing and, kind of hope he could be a little bit better. I guess that's kind of the thing we're going to have to see. Coming on into the bullpen couldn't really hold down the fort. Tommy Hunter came in, pitched 2 innings, 5 hits, 5 runs, 2 walks, and a strikeout. And pretty much after this, it was kind of 10 runs, 6 innings in, and there's really not much to go for. So the Mets just said, all right, let's just kind of, keep the game, whatever, put in Dennis Santana. He had a clean outing. That's good to see. And then Luis Guillorme came into pitch. The first position player for the New York Mets had come into pitch. Luis Guillorme going an inning, giving up a hit, 12 pitches, 6 of those were in the strike zone. So good to see Luis Guillorme providing some elite activity. It's definitely a fan favorite when it comes to position player pitching. So he was like effacing it. I think he actually threw a little like curveball or a knuckleball, or he threw something, but it was pretty funny. So yeah, that was definitely good to see. Guillorme, that was definitely a highlight. In terms of the offense, the Mets didn't score any runs. They had 3 hits, one by Vogelbach and 2 by Guillorme. Otherwise, they just didn't do anything. So Carrasco gets the L. Getting on into game 2, Tuesday's game, the Mets did not have much luck as they lost 9-0. Did a little bit better offensively, but couldn't score any runs. Scherzer, 5 1/3 of an inning, 8 hits, 5 runs, 2 walks, 2 strikeouts. Yeah, Scherzer didn't look super great. Started off decently, had some unluck with some light bloopers, some light contact in the beginning, and just really wasn't able to get the job done, essentially. His off-speed stuff looked decent. I mean, he was pounding his zone at first, and then, the 6th inning came, and he kind of just couldn't really have it. An unfortunate outing for Scherzer. 5 runs is something you don't like to see. It happens. And Reyes came into relief, 2/3 of an inning. Brooks Raley came in to try and keep it somewhat of a close ball game. Went an inning, 4 hits, 4 runs, and a strikeout. So that kind of blew up the game. And then Adam Ottavino came in to pitch an inning, giving up a hit. Like I said, offensively, this team did not do anything. You got 8 hits. You were hitting the ball. You just were not scoring with runners in scoring position. And that was the big issue this game. Like I said, you got 8 hits. Nimmo had 3 hits. McNeil had 3 hits. Escobar had a hit. Marte had a hit. Otherwise, everyone else didn't really do much. And like I said, there wasn't really much for this offense to do when no one else is providing any other offensive production. So, that's just how it goes. Baseball is a sport where, if 2 guys in the lineup are struggling and, they just so happen to be, just for random, the 3 and 4 hitter, your lineup's not going to do well. And that seems to be the case with the Mets is that, when 2 guys that play a vital role for this lineup, your 2 table setters are struggling, it seems the whole team. It's just kind of the domino effect. And, some teams are very similar, but it really just seems for the Mets, if, for example, like a guy like Lindor or Alonso are not doing anything, the team's not really going to win. And we go on to see that in game 3, where the Mets scored runs, but still managed to lose. And the Mets lost 6-7. You had David Peterson on the mound, 4 innings, 5 hits, 5 walks, 5 strikeouts, 5 runs, 92 pitches, 49 of those were in the strike zone. Once again, not a good outing. I mean, Peterson started off good, had some run support, had an unfortunate 2nd inning. Thing with Peterson is he constantly gets into these 3-0 counts and drives up his pitch clock. And, we saw that a lot last year, and he resulted, listen, if you go 2-3 innings and his pitch clock's a little high, maybe, kind of put some off-speed stuff in, try and get some ground balls, get some double plays. We just didn't see that with him. A lot of the outs were just, single, solo outs. They weren't, any double plays or, anything like that. And that's kind of what killed Peterson, I guess, for the most part, this outing. The walks, 5 walks is definitely an issue. And we saw it in spring training. And, his last outing in Miami, it wasn't really an issue. He was able to get out of it with keeping his pitch clock low. But once again, it didn't work for him this outing. And that's going to be something that Buck Showalter's going to have to keep an eye on for. When Verlander comes back and, is Peterson or McGill going to be the guy out? And most likely it could be Peterson considering his walk issue. It comes to the point where I don't really care about having a lefty in the rotation if it means that we're going to have a guy go out there every 5 days and, walk the ballpark. He's definitely gotten better with it, but it's still at a point right now where, it's still not serviceable. So we'll see how that goes. His slider looks good. I'll give him that. Coming in after that, Drew Smith came in an inning, giving up 2 hits and a run, 2 strikeouts. Once again, a guy that I don't like very much. John Curtis came in, 2 innings, 2 hits, 3 strikeouts. Good outing. Happy birthday to him. David Robertson came in for an inning. And then an interesting move for Buck to go into the bottom of the 9th in a tie ball game and put him out of Ottavino. And Ottavino unfortunately blew the game on a solo home run walk-off to Garrett Mitchell. Obviously, Ottavino came in 0 innings pitched, giving up a hit and a run. A one hit and run, obviously, from Garrett Mitchell. And an interesting move, obviously, Ottavino pitched the day before. David Robertson did not. He did not pitch into the Miami series. So he had, 3 days off and went into the 8th inning, only 12 pitches. 7 of those were in the strike zone. So he saw his accuracy was there. But Buck Showalter decided, he'd make a little bit of an interesting kind of an interesting move and put in Adam Ottavino and, did the numbers necessarily say Ottavino? It's not even the numbers. It's, I guess, more of a situational number because, obviously Garrett Mitchell's never really faced Ottavino or David Robertson before. So, did the situational numbers prefer it? I don't know. Versus a lefty, maybe that's just what it was, but blew away the game. In terms of the offense, you were getting on base. They scored runs. They got hits. Obviously, getting things started in the first inning, Francisco Lindor had an RBI double to left to bring in Starling Marte to make this a 1-0 ball game. Heading on into the 3rd inning, the Mets were behind but came back. Francisco Lindor had another RBI single to right to bring in Starling Marte once again. So good to see Lindor starting to put the ball in play. That's something that you need to do. Heading on and after that, later on in the 3rd inning, Pete Alonso had a 2-run homer to right center, 397 feet, to bring in Francisco Lindor and himself. So good to see Big Meat Pete, our boy Pete Alonso, come into clutch with some opposite field power. Definitely exemplified that a lot this series. And then heading on into the 5th inning, once again, to give the Mets the lead, Pete Alonso had another 2-run homer to center, 424 feet, to bring in Francisco Lindor and himself. So good to see Pete Alonso with the power there, but otherwise the Mets were not able to get it done as the pitching staff, unfortunately, was not able to accommodate the Mets offense. Like I said, 6 runs, 7 hits. Great day for Lindor, going 3 for 4 with 2 RBIs and 2 runs. Pete Alonso 2 for 4, 2 runs, 2 homers, 4 RBIs. Otherwise, that's it. You had a hit from Marte, a hit from Narvaez, and everyone else in the lineup was really 0 for 4 or 0 for 5, and it's not acceptable. Tim LaCastro got hit by a pitch as a pitch hitter, but otherwise, that's really it. It really goes to show you, and I said it before, when 2 guys in this lineup struggle, the whole lineup struggles. And in this case, when Alonso and Lindor are not providing any offense, it seems the whole lineup struggles. And I get it. Could Lindor be a table setter and Alonso and Lindor your main run creation, they're your big RPI producers, but you can't rely on 2 guys. And we saw they carried, they scored runs, and the past 2 other games, they didn't because they were cold. And then you see Nimmo just so happens to go 0 for 5, and McNeil so happens to go 0 for 4. So, it comes to the point where, baseball, you need 9 guys in the lineup to do stuff. Last I checked, it's not Alonso and Lindor carrying the offense. If only there were, 9 Pete Alonsos and Francisco Lindor's batting, that'd be great. But unfortunately, you have Nimmo, you have Marte, you have Vogelbach, you have McNeil, you have Canna. You have so many other guys that need to come up. This team was not coming into clutch. They were not hitting with runners in scoring position. I mean, the Mets had a total of 16 guys on base this game. 2 stolen bases, which is great. And you still couldn't manage to win. I mean, let's go to game 2. They got 8 hits. Yeah, you got 8 guys on base. So, the lack of power is one thing I will address. I think, you looked at the Brewers, they hit a lot of long balls. A lot of home runs from their rookies and other guys, and a lot of extra base hits. And the Mets' lack of power is going to get to them with that. Because instead of trying to score 1 run with 1 hit, if you're not hitting for home runs, you're not hitting for triples or doubles, you're just going to go for singles, that's great. But it's going to take 3 hits to score in a run. Where the Brewers are, getting bases loaded and hitting grand slams. So, it's going to come to a point where the Mets are still going to have to address, is the lack of power going to be an issue? Listen, if you have an elite pitching staff that's going to go out there and give up 1 or 2 runs and you score 4 or 5 runs, that's fine. I guarantee you, if this game was played last year, the Mets would have easily won it. Because their pitching staff was doing great. I mean, so far the pitching's been pretty rocky this year. But I guarantee you, if you put on any game last year, you score 6 runs, Mets would have won. I mean, there's been a statistic that the Mets scored 3 more runs and they had like a 85% win chance or something like that. Really goes to show you. So, see how it goes. It'll be a very interesting situation. So, it's the Mets and Brewers series. The Mets, unfortunately, were not able to get the job done. It sucks. First sweep of the season. I'd rather it happen now, but yeah, the Mets get swept in Milwaukee, a rough 3-game series. And with that said, the Mets are going home. They're saying, forget that. Let's go home and face the Miami Marlins in a 3-game home opener stretch. You're at home. You have all the Citi Field fans right behind you. Let's go to that. And that's what the Mets are going to be riding off of as the New York Mets. As the New York Mets will be facing the Miami Marlins in a 3-game stretch coming into today's game at 1:10. So we got an hour away. The New York Mets will be facing the Miami Marlins. As stated, we got Tyler McGill on the bump for the New York Mets. Like I said, small sample size. McGill did play his last outing against the Marlins where he got the win, posting an ERA of 3.60, a whip of 1. His last outing, he went 5 innings, giving up 6 hits, 7 strikeouts, 2 walks, and just so happens 1 long ball. But McGill does have pretty decent numbers against this Miami Marlins lineup. Besides guys like Luis Arias, pretty good numbers against this Miami Marlins lineup. Sorry. So that is good to see. Big thing with sorry guys. My apologies. I'm a little under the weather. Give me a sec. All right. Sorry about that. All good. Yeah. So maybe not. So apologize. So like I said, bro. All right. I promise I'm good. So right now, when it comes to Tyler McGill, biggest thing we're going to see is his change in his stride. He changed his stride big time last game, most likely this season. I mean, spring training, it was different too. And, his stride is definitely a little bit shorter. And it's definitely going to result in lower velocity, which is fine. I think that's something that he's a young pitcher. He's kind of going to have to just work around, and that's fine. I don't think that's a big issue. I mean, I don't think velocity makes you great. As long as your stuff is nasty, as long as you're getting the job done, I could really give a crap on how hard you throw. Yeah, I mean, the harder the better, but maybe that also is worse because, injury and wear and tear, get more fatigue. So, we'll see how that goes for McGill today. Hopefully Tyler McGill can have a good outing. That'll be his second outing of the year. He is the home opener starter. He was, apologies, he was last year's opening day starter. And he will be going against Edward Cabrera. Obviously, Edward Cabrera, the Mets faced last time in Miami. Yet to record a win or loss, 4.50 ERA, 2.0 whip. When the Mets faced him last time, got him in 4 innings, 2 hits, 2 strikeouts, 6 walks. That's where the Mets got him. They drew up his pitch count big time. Those 6 walks in 4 innings. Yeah, only 2 hits, but the Mets got him big time. They really did, and that's what you're going to need to do. The Mets have pretty decent numbers when it comes to facing Edward Cabrera, Brandon Nimmo, Pete Alonso, Marcana. Have pretty good numbers with a decently large sample size against Edward Cabrera. So I guess right now when it comes to it, try and get Edward Cabrera early on, and if you can, that will be great. Like I said, we'll see how that goes. Edward Cabrera definitely is definitely a much better pitcher than he was last year, in my opinion. I definitely believe he's matured. Really changed up his arsenal of pitches, added some velocity, changed his stride a little bit. So, we'll see how that goes for him. He's in for definitely an interesting season, but hopefully the Mets could beat up on him today. So that'll be game 1. Getting into game 2, which is tomorrow's game. The New York Mets will be facing the Marlins at 4:10 Saturday, and the New York Mets will have Kodai Senga on the mound. Kodai Senga, obviously, has a win-loss record of 1-0, 1.69 ERA, 1.13 whip, 5 1/3 inning. In Miami last week, he went 5 1/3 inning, giving up 3 hits, 8 strikeouts, 3 walks, and no home runs. Yeah, Kodai Senga looked pretty good last start. Like I said, besides that rocky first inning, he really got his stuff together. Location of the strike zone, command, velocity, he looked fine. His ghost forkball, whatever you want to call it. I think all of his strikeouts were generated on that, the strike 3 and all of his strikeouts, I believe, were on the ghost forkball. So that's definitely a good put away pitch. We'll see, is the Marlins going to be a little bit less aggressive, more aggressive than that pitch? Are they going to know it's coming to them? So I guess we're just going to really have to wait and see how that goes. But that'll be very interesting to see for the Miami Marlins. Hopefully, Kodai Senga, you like to see him give you 5-6 innings, keep that pitch count low. He's not, it's not, yeah, he's a rookie, but he's not like a young rookie. But you definitely would like him healthy considering what's going on with the whole Mets rotation as it is right now. So, I guess we will see how that will go for the New York Mets and Kodai Senga today. They will be facing the left-handed pitcher in Trevor Rogers. Trevor Rogers so far in the season is 0-1, 6.23 ERA, 1.38 WHIP. Last time the Mets faced Trevor Rogers in Miami last week, got him in 4 1/3 innings, giving up 4 hits, 4 strikeouts, 2 walks, and a home run. So the Mets definitely were able to also beat up on Trevor Rogers as well. Lefty, who the Mets were able to hit, has good stuff. You got to get him early. That's what I say about some of these Marlins guys, especially Trevor Rogers, is you got to get him early because he's a guy who will, maybe explode in the first or second inning, and then he'll go immaculate, for 3, 4, 5, and 6. So you got to get him early. And yeah, I think that's, really, I guess all you could really say with Trevor Rogers. He's a guy who the Marlins are really trying to hope to get back to his rookie self. Didn't have it last year, and is he going to be that lefty that the Mets or that the Marlins are really ambitious about? We'll see. So that's game 2, and getting into game 3, which is Sunday's game. The Mets will have Carlos Carrasco on the bump. Did not have a good outing last time in Milwaukee. That's all I'm going to say. Biggest thing with Carrasco is keep the pitch count low. If the velocity starts to dip, then, maybe we'll be facing a little bit of a concern. I don't know if that's going to mean he's getting tired, he's getting fatigued. Is it pitch clock that's screwing him up? I really don't know. So, it's going to be an interesting outing for Carrasco. You may have to you may get onto your bullpen a little bit earlier than you would like. But like I said, with Carrasco, if he can keep that pitch count low, limit hard contact, that's something that he's given up a lot in the past, even last year and in 2021. Like I said, if he could limit that, that'll be definitely much needed. He'll try and mix up his pitches. He has the fastball to change up the curve, and I believe he has a slider that he uses periodically as a good swing and miss pitch, a put away pitch. Try and mix those up, generate those, and kind of hope for the best, essentially. And for the Miami Marlins, their starter is to be determined. They have undecided who their starter is, so we'll see. Maybe they go a bullpen game. Obviously, Johnny Cueto is on the IL, so that will make it an undecided game for them, I believe. So, yeah. Coming into the series, I apologize, guys. I'm really under the weather, and I still wanted to come on here. As I was saying, coming into this series, a couple guys, I guess, to keep an eye out for offensively. Just knowing the history between these guys and the Marlins, I think definitely 2 guys you should keep an eye out on is Pete Alonso and Francisco Lindor. Obviously, Pete Alonso has good numbers against the Marlins, but really good numbers against a lot of this Marlins pitching staff. Obviously, he has 3 career home runs and only 8 at-bats against Edward Cabrera, so that's something you don't see very often. That may be one of the best in MLB in terms of sample size, so we'll see how that goes, I guess, essentially. So we'll see how that goes, essentially. Like I said, Pete Alonso has great numbers when it comes to the Marlins. Let's see his numbers against Edward Cabrera. My apologies. I don't know how you spell his name. Versus Cabrera Marlins. I don't know how to. We'll just do to the Marlins because it's a 3-game set. Yeah, I mean, obviously, Pete Alonso has generated over 23 home runs, 45 RBIs, 54 hits in the Marlins, and only 68 games in his career. So that's pretty good. You like to see that. Francisco Lindor also has pretty good numbers against the Marlins in his career, which is, considering really just 2021, 2022, and obviously last series he played pretty decent. 283 average, 49 hits, 9 homers, 33 ribbies, 45 games played against them. So that's pretty good. You like to see that. Obviously, considering Alonso and Lindor definitely had a good final game. against Milwaukee. You hope they could take that high morale and kind of transition that into the New York Mets and the Miami Marlins series. So we'll see how that goes. Definitely another couple guys that I think could be noteworthy. We'll see how it goes with Francisco Alvarez. Obviously, keynote to bring up on him. Omar Narvaez is heading to the IL. He will be out from anywhere from 7 to 9 weeks. So due to a left calf strain, so that obviously results in an IL stint for him. However, it's not the end of the world because now you have Francisco Alvarez. Obviously, he started off the year in AAA as expected. Didn't really have a great spring training. Played only, I think, like 4 or 5 games in AAA, but looked really good. We saw his power was there. Offensively, his approach, his approach was there. His approach was pretty satisfactory. 16 at bats. In 16 at bats in AAA. He obviously scored 4 runs, 4 hits, 2 home runs, 4 ribbies. He had a stolen base, batted .250, OBP of 368, and an OPS of 1,056. Like I said, it's a small sample size. It's only 16 at bats, but hey, we saw how he was last year in AAA, and I don't think he hit his first home run for quite some time. So it's definitely good that he's doing it early on. Cold Syracuse, the ball doesn't travel, so really goes to show that he really can be hitting the ball very, very well. So yeah, we'll see how that goes for him. Obviously, Buck Showalter is not using him. He's not in the lineup for today, which it is interesting. I know a lot of people were commenting about that earlier, so we're going to see how that goes. He'll be available as a DH today, no doubt, and I wouldn't be surprised. He'll definitely need some playing time. You're not going to have Nito play all 3 games of this Marlins series, unless you do, which I doubt it. That probably wouldn't be very good. So, yeah, I guess we'll essentially kind of just see how that goes. We'll kind of just see how that goes as it is right there. So, yeah, I guess let's get into some of your guys' comments, questions, concerns. What is going on, everyone? Gio, Ryan, Lane, Alyssa, Alex, Eric, what's going on? Of course, man. Gio, Trey, Logan, Lane, what's going on? Jack in the Box, Cal, what's going on? Yes, the Mets will be calling up Francisco Alvarez. LFGM, Tyler McGill Day, absolutely. Yeah, and Trey brings up a good point that I think a lot of Mets fans definitely do ask themselves, and that is the question: is did we not just see the Brewers letting their youngsters play, not only play but completely crush us with power, speed, and athleticism? Let the kids play, and that's something that I've been advocating for. It's very frustrating to see guys, like I said, like Eduardo Escobar putting up these 0 for 5 games with 3 strikeouts, and everyone else in the lineup at least has a hit. And and then you go down to AAA. You see Beatty going 3 for 4 with the home run and 2-run RBI double and a great defensive play at third. And it really makes you think, well, what are we doing? What is the philosophy that the Mets are going about? You see teams like the Braves. We saw last year they called up Michael Harris and Vaughn Grisham and Orlando Arcia. Nobody knew who the hell they were. Vaughn Grisham, his first game in Vaughn Grisham, his first game against the Red Sox, he hits like a go-ahead home run. Michael Harris, he just starts raking. Orlando Arcia starts raking. Spencer Strider, Cy Young, Rookie of the Year contention. And then it's like, you look at what do the Mets prospects do? I apologize. I apologize, guys. I'm very under the weather, as you could tell. And then it's, what did the Mets prospects do last year? It was, kind of late in the season, small sample size, but still. Let the kids play. It comes to the point where if Escobar is going to be going 0 for 5, you can make the argument, look what Beatty did last year when he was called up. Maybe he's not ready. I think he is, but it's better than 0 for 5. If Beatty gives you 0 for 5, it's what it is. What's the difference if it's Escobar or Beatty? I think Beatty's better defensively. Approach at the plate probably still goes to Beatty just because Escobar is just, free swinger and he's chasing way too much. So, really what difference does it make? Not much, really. So, well, I guess we're gonna have to see how that goes. You know, right now for the most part. It's definitely a frustrating situation that Billy Epler is going to have to address. If Billy Epler wants this team to stay competitive, he's gonna have to address the Escobar situation. Same way they addressed the Darren Ruff situation. What did they do? They said we're not gonna give you a chance to. You're on a short leash. You got a pretty bad spring training, and sorry, dude, you're out. Well, I'm not saying you have to do the same with Escobar, but if not, you have something called the bench. Ryan says thoughts on the Red Sox. Yeah, your pitcher staff is not what is planned. Sorry. Yeah, your pitching staff is not what is planned. Um, Offensively, I mean, we'll see what Boston's going to get from some of from their younglings, Casas and Yoshida. They could definitely be some good power guys. So, yeah, we'll definitely see. Chris Sale definitely had despite an anonymous start. I mean, they took some steps yesterday in the Detroit home opener. So we'll see. Yeah, hopefully Lane says hopefully McGill wins. Absolutely. Connor says Verlander shows the Senga dominance will peak at baseball. Absolutely. What's new in Mets land? Not much. Mets Marlins today. Kobe says, hey, Hayden, how are you? Rough series. Anyways, on to the next. Yeah, that's really all you could do. Yeah, Alex. I mean, that's a good question. Alex says, will the Mets calling up Francisco Alvarez spark the roster? It's definitely a possibility. Like I said, sometimes there's always a spark in that lineup. Like I said, we saw last year with the trade deadline, and will Alvarez be that spark? It's quite so possible. LFGM, absolutely. Baseball media says which Mets bat needs to stay alive in order for the lineup to do its job. And from what we've seen, it's really Alonso and Lindor. When they're not putting up the numbers, it seems that the whole lineup just kind of goes into a slump because they're your main RBI producers, they're your big run creation. You have your table setters in front of them, and then they drive them in. And when they don't produce, it kind of seems that your lineup's in a little bit of a predicament. Do you bring up Mark Vientos or Ronnie Mauricio? I don't think Mauricio is going to get called up. Just got the AAA. It's not like a position that's highly needed unless you were to call him up as a DH. Vientos also, I don't know. If anything, it's Beatty and Alvarez. Interesting move, says Cal. How do you think the season will go without Diaz and Verlander for a while? Yeah, I mean, it's not like the end of the world. I'm not going to sit here and devalue the closer role, but it's not like you lost an everyday position player like an outfielder or a bat or starting rotation guy like a Verlander. I don't think the Diaz injury is like, oh my God, the Mets season's over. No. Like I said, not to devalue the closer role, but as a guy that goes out there 3 times a week and pitches an inning. He could save a game or two, give up a game or two, but it's not like it's not like he's going to contribute to. I mean, if you want to use WAR as a stat, it's not like he's going to contribute to like 10 Mets wins or score 10 Mets runs. So yeah, we'll kind of see how that goes. When it comes to Justin Verlander, yeah, it's definitely a blow, and I guess that kind of. Yeah, the Verlander thing's a blow. Like I said, you do have the depth in McGill and Peterson, but I think it comes to how much longer can they last. Yeah, a short sample size. Peterson didn't look great his last outing. He looked good his first outing. McGill looked good his first outing. We'll see how he fares today. But it kind of comes to the point where, you want Verlander. You want your ace. You want your back-to-back aces. I think anyone would want that. I love Steve Cohen, what he's doing for my Mets, and the Borough of Queens is amazing. Yeah, no, absolutely, man. Ryan, what's going on, man? Appreciate you tuning in. Kobe says, how will pitchers adapt to the pitch clock? Yeah, I mean, it kind of seems like they're adapting to it already. We've seen a lot of veterans kind of get called out for it already. I mean, we saw a lot of guys like Wheeler and Stroman and Carrasco get called out for it already. And I guess it's just going to be an adjustment. I mean, that's also maybe a reason we can see a lot of great pitchers go to the WBC because they wanted to get used to that pitch clock for spring training. There was no pitch clock in the WBC. And also an argument why some offensive guys are slumping too. But, when it comes down to it, sorry about that. But yeah, like I said, when it comes down to it, it's just going to be something that's just time and acclimation. You know, there's a lot of rules in baseball that come on, and not many of them are direct impacts to the game. This is a direct impact for the game, and they're just going to have to get used to it. You know, the same reason that players are going to get used to the shift and offensively hitting against the shift. It's going to how it's going to be. So, guys, like I said, they're going to get used to it. It's going to be unfortunate. Guys are going to, even the batters too, are going to get used to it. So it's going to be time. Yeah, Ryan, I appreciate you tuning in. It's definitely been a while. Appreciate you tuning in, man. LFGM. Trey says Alvarez sitting today isn't the problem. How he's utilized in the long term is if they treat him the way they did. He was last year, pitch hitting, blowout garbage at bats, no time behind the plate. It's a huge problem. Either you think the kid could play or you don't. And I agree with you on that. And I necessarily don't understand why Showalter is all of a sudden now idolizing Nito, saying how he's the catcher he loves and he trusts. If that was the case, then why wasn't he the opening day catcher? Why did you go for Narvaez? Why is Narvaez not the backup? Let the kids play. I get it's early in the season. You want to win these games, and as you should. I'm not saying, I'm not the type of person that says, you have 150 games to play, 160 games to play. It's early. No, you got to win these games. I think Alvarez I think if Alvarez is here, he needs to work defensively. He's a catcher. That's a vital position. It's not like he's a third baseman or an outfielder. Catcher is one of the most important positions defensively in the game now. With framing, the defensive metrics, it proves it. I don't want Alvarez, like you said, Trey, coming up and just pitch hitting and DH. No. If that's the case, then send him back down to AAA where he can catch. He can work on his defense. So we'll see how that goes. How do you feel about the pitch clock? Being honest, I am not really big on it. I think the pitch clock is pretty stupid in my opinion. I think it rushes the game. It's like, listen, if you disagree, please, comment below. I'd love to know, I'd love to talk about it. But I'm not big on the pitch clock. I think it feels like the game's so rushed. When I'm seeing an hour and 57-minute games, I'm just like, bro, financially, I think it's stupid. Would you want to go to a baseball game and pay the same amount of money for a 3-hour game, but do it in an hour and 57 minutes? Listen, if they're going to if the games are going to be shorter, then the prices should be lower. That's just economics 101 right there. But regardless of that, it feels the game is too rushed. It really does. It's definitely going to affect pitchers and batters for a little bit, but it just feels like the game is so rushed. Like I'm sitting in my dorm. I walk to the bathroom, the 30-second walk down the hall, and like the inning's over. And I'm like, bro, you serious? I it's crazy. I don't like it. The game is so rushed. It really is. Maybe instead of 15 and 20 seconds, maybe make it 25, 30. Okay, I'll take that. But it feels too rushed. And I don't like fast paced sports. Kobe says, I love Epler. Yeah, absolutely, man. Let's go get those fish this weekend. LFGM says, Michael, absolutely, man. Trey says, keep Escobar as a DH. Yeah, that may be the case, honestly. We'll see how, what the future goes with Eduardo Escobar. If he's going out there and he's not having these good outings, but then you see Brett Beatty down in AAA ranking, maybe Epler will be, really left with no choice, and it's going to come to the point where, are you going to accept 0 for 5, or would you rather accept 1 for 4 or something like that? And Beatty's defense at third, like I said, you can't wait till September. This isn't the Green Day song, "Wake Me Up When It's September." You can't do that. Epler, use your head, dude. Last year the division was determined by one game. That could have been the Cubs series that the Mets got swept in. That could have been one of the Rockies games that they lost. That could have been any game that they lost due to Escobar not producing from April to August. There could have been, I'm sure there were plenty of paths where it was, 1-run ball game or close game and there were runners in scoring position and Escobar didn't do anything. I'm sure maybe that 1 or 2 hits could have determined the division. Especially against the Braves when Escobar didn't look so great against the Braves early on. So, yeah, it's going to be a frustrating thing. And I think, like I said, with time comes, as Epler's going to be met with this question. You know, is he going to look back in October and say, yeah, maybe that wasn't such a good idea to, you know, leave Beatty in AAA while all the other ball clubs are calling up their guys and letting the kids play. So yeah, it's a very frustrating situation. It really is. What is the news on Sam Coonrod? Yeah, I believe he's still out. I don't think there's much news on him. He's transferred to the 60-day IL, so I guess that answers that question. Jerome Johnson says, I just hit the sub button, my friend. I appreciate you, bro. Definitely tip of the cap to you, man. Definitely feel free to share this channel with your friends, your family. If you have to make an account for your dog or a pet, I definitely advise it. But yeah, like I said, if you have any questions or anything, feel free to drop it below. If you want to follow me on Twitter at Mets Hayden, go for it. But yeah, appreciate you tuning in, man. Rob is at City Field. I did see that. Yeah. Hopefully he has fun. That's awesome. Haley says, could definitely see a future where Alvarez and Parada split time between catcher and DH. It will keep them both healthy and ultimately prolong their careers. Catching 81 games a year is much different than 140 to 150. I agree with you on that, Haley. And I mean, I'll just say it. I mean, personally, I think that I think that Kevin Parada has better upside and will have a better career than Francisco Alvarez. But right now, obviously Alvarez is closer. Parada's still young. He has plenty of time to develop. But I like with what Parada has defensively, his approach, and where he is as a catcher at such a young age. I think that's really interesting. So, hopefully he will continue to just show his dominance and yeah, I guess we will see how things can go there. Kodai Senga is pitching on Saturday, correct? Germ says, what do you think about the Phillies signing Turner? Yeah, I mean, I think it was a great addition for them. I mean, the Phillies last year lacked a lot of things, and Turner brings in those things, whether that's defense, elite defense, speed to an extent. Obviously, Turner is one of the fastest guys in the game, but I guess the biggest thing Turner brings is just his ability to be a table setter and bat leadoff or bat second. We saw a lot of times last year where the Phillies, especially in the World Series, they hit a lot of home runs, but all of them were solo home runs. I mean, you look back at the home runs hit by Harper and Schwarber and Castellanos and whoever. They were all solo shots. They weren't getting guys on base. And now that you bring in Turner, who's a table setter, helps advance the lineup. I mean, Turner's going to be a great on-base percentage machine for them, a great speedster, great defense, high average, high OBP to an extent guy. So I think that'll be a really good move for the Phillies. How do you feel about the Yankees? I mean, yeah, I hate them. Nah, I don't hate any team. But no, yeah, I think the Yankees are definitely having a pretty good start to the season. Obviously, had a great series against the Phillies, good series against the Giants. Offensively, they're looking pretty great. Pitching wise, they're looking pretty great. I guess their only concerns is their veteran pieces. Josh Donaldson and Aaron Hicks, and are they going to be replaced sooner rather than later? Are the Yankees going to kind of take Oswaldo Cabrera and say, sorry, Aaron Hicks, Cabrera is our new left fielder. That may be the case. And, Sam can go for third base. Obviously they're doing that. Isaiah kind of Falefa is, kind of lost shortstop to Anthony Volpe. I mean, that Donaldson and Falefa trade was I think one of the worst trades, but that's a story for another day. But yeah, I guess we'll see how that goes. Right now, I think the Yankees are looking pretty good. Considering their rotation with Rodon out and stuff, they're doing pretty good. Yeah, you and me both. Thoughts on the Mets bullpen? Yeah, no, it's not going to work. Right now, you look at a lot of this bullpen right now at the Mets, and it's not really a lot of highly known guys. It's not a lot of highly respected guys, and I think that's going to be a pretty big issue for this Mets bullpen. I'm not really, I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, the Edwin Diaz injury was, the determination of the Mets bullpen being great. I think David Robertson or Adam Ottavino were sufficient enough to carry the closer role, but you lost a lot of key pieces in free agency that were part of the bullpen. And being honest, you look at this bullpen, I don't trust many guys. I don't trust Drew Smith. I think he's a long ball merchant. He'll have an outing where he'll go out there and just shit the park. And then when it comes to guys like Denny Reyes and Dennis Santana, John Curtis, Steven Nagosic, I still don't trust them. They're not established guys. When it comes to the question of if McGill and Peterson go back to the bullpen, okay. And even then, I don't like Peterson in the bullpen because of his walk issue. So once again, the Mets are really going to have to shop at the deadline for bullpen arms. You have a couple guys in AAA. Yacobonis, hopefully when he comes back, you can try and get something out of him. But yeah, like I said, the Mets bullpen, I would hate for that to be their downfall because, last year that was just a position that was pretty good for them. They had the depth. Guys like Seth Lugo, obviously, weren't really having it. You lost him. He's in San Diego, and, he's a starter now, but something the Mets maybe should have not done, but should have done at a different time. Michael says, do you like the new baseball rules, pitch clock, pickoffs, bigger bases, shift? So I went over the pitch clock. Pickoffs, I don't mind that. The bigger bases, I don't mind. Shift, I don't mind, but put limitations on it, I say. Jeff, what's going on? He says, hey, Hayden, do you think Alvarez should start today? I don't know if he should necessarily start today. Considering I don't know if he's ever caught Kodai Senga. I don't really want to put them in that weird situation. But when I guess it comes down to it, I would say I wouldn't be against him starting at least one game of the 3-game series. So yeah, hopefully he can get at least one start. Maybe McGill pitches today, Senga's tomorrow. Yeah, maybe he could have pitched for McGill or caught for McGill. How strong is the Mets bullpen, would you say? Yeah, not very strong. Do the Mets have too many old pitchers in their rotation? I was speaking with someone, and someone actually mentioned that to me. Right now, and I think the Mets have kind of had that philosophy of having 2 veteran pitchers and then kind of a young 3, 4, 5 guy behind them. When it comes down to it, like I said, when it comes down to it, yeah, last year you didn't have Verlander, you had DeGrom, and DeGrom is 4 or 5 years younger than Verlander. Still Verlander's a fine wine, but, you look, Scherzer and Verlander, big injury risks. Yeah, you have Quintana, and he got hurt, but still, the Cardinals, I want to say the Cardinals, it was 3 years ago, had one of the oldest rotations in baseball. They had like John Lester, Adam Wainwright. I can't remember. I can't recollect any of the other guys' names, but they had I think their average rotation age was like 37 or 38. And the Mets may be like that. Considering Senga is not like this 21-year-old guy, and McGill has been around for a little bit. So, yeah, that's interesting. So, I think the Mets definitely need to continue to start drafting younger pitching depth. I think that's something that the Mets will need to do, no doubt in my mind. I think right now you look at the Mets farm system, and when it comes to pitching step, that's something that really is lacked, and I think the Mets will definitely have to continue to draft starting pitching. Like I said, I would like them to start drafting starting pitching, considering Matt Allen is Tommy John, and you have a couple other guys that are promising, Blake Tidwell and Luke Ritter, of course, but yeah, definitely with time, you're going to need to start drafting. Start drafting some starting pitching. How do you feel about the Reds? Probably 100-loss team. Can the Mets call up Kevin Parada? Nah, he's too young. He's still in single A. He just made it this year. So, Ballcap Sports, Jim, what's going on, man? I appreciate you tuning in. Jim says, hey, Hayden, what's up, brother? I'm doing well, fellow Blue Jays fans. If you guys don't know Jim, definitely check out his channel, Ballcap Sports. Great guy. Blue Jays fan, but still great guy, very knowledgeable. Lane says the Mets game is on SNY Network now. Yeah, I'm kind of like looking at it a little bit on my computer. I have a tab up muted, so that's why I'm like touching my computer a lot. I'm kind of going back and forth with it. They're introducing Quintana now. Everyone's just commenting dumb stuff in there. group chat. So, those patches look so ugly on those jerseys. Jeez. What place do you think the Mets will finish in the division? I don't really think it matters, but I think probably second. Like I said, it doesn't really matter where you finish. How good could Kodai Senga be for the Mets in 2023? I think it could be a nice little spark. I don't think he'll be this like rookie of the year candidate or elite Cy Young, but I definitely think he'll provide a lot. Mauricio will be interesting to be on the roster. I concur. I disagree. I concur with Beatty, though. I haven't seen this much talent from the Mets farm system, and I go back to being a fan since '88. Excited to see the kids come up. And, that's the interesting thing. I mean, the Mets farm system has always been somewhat decent, but a lot of the guys who are successful now, you look at guys like Alonso, Nimmo, McNeil, they weren't big in the farm system. I mean, people maybe knew Alonso because of his power, UF student, Florida Gator. But, he wasn't, a top 100 prospect in 2018, 2017. No one really knew much of him. Same for McNeil. Same for Nimmo. They weren't really these highly viewed prospects. Even same for some guys like DeGrom or Wheeler, Syndergaard too. The Mets farm system, the guys have always never been these highly viewed prospects, and then they just come up to the MLB and they have great years. Alonso was, he had a great spring training in 2019, and that just so happened got him on the roster, and nobody expected him in March of 2019 to win Rookie of the Year and hit 53 home runs. So it goes to show you, now you look at the Mets farm system where there is talent, hopefully they get called up and they do stuff. I mean, even look at it, guys like David Peterson and Tyler McGill. No one knew of them. So goes to show you the Mets farm is definitely in a good position now. Jeremy says, do you think David Wright will coach in his near future? Yeah, I think it's certainly possible. He's definitely working with the Mets organization still in some position. I don't know the role or what it is, but yeah, I definitely think it's possible. Maybe he does some type of coaching, maybe manager stuff down the line. Definitely needs some coaching experience. So yeah, we'll see. Definitely David Wright would do great in some type of coaching role. Like I said, I always have no problem with, former Mets like David Wright and Carlos Beltran and Carlos Delgado, whoever, coming back and, working with the Mets players. Like I said, we saw in spring training, David Wright worked with Beatty and Vientos at third. And I have no problem with having former Mets, just talk, have a conversation with guys like, having Keith Hernandez, have a conversation with, Pete Alonso or Jeff McNeil and Ray Ordonez having a conversation or something like that. I think that's great. I think it's great that, the current players look up to the past players and especially such great players. Those are pretty elite names that stand out. So, yeah, I guess we'll see how that goes. But, yeah, I absolutely think so. Can the Mets call up Blade Tidwell? I believe that's what you mean. Nah, he's too young, once again. These are guys that are still in single A. Where's my Red Sox hat? Not wearing it today. How to rep out the Mets hat for once. I know it's a miracle. And once in a stream, I have a Mets hat on, everyone. But, I figured for today's stream, the home opener, I would rep the Metropolitans. How many innings will Tyler McGill go into the game today? I'll say 6 innings. I'll be generous. I'll say he'll go 6 innings. So, yeah, we're probably going to call it a stream here, everyone. Just approaching the hour mark on today's stream. I do want to apologize for being very congested and having to drink water every 10 minutes. I am, like I said, very under the weather. I'm not feeling very well. I think it's that time of season. And, people just don't cover their mouths at school, so that definitely doesn't help. They cough and they don't cover their mouth, which is very stupid. But that's a story for another day. But yeah, like I said, I really do appreciate everyone for tuning in to today's stream. As always, definitely a great stream. Definitely appreciate everybody for tuning in. Obviously, in today's stream, we went over the New York Mets and the Milwaukee Brewers series summary. Then we went over the New York Mets and the Miami Marlins series previewing that, going over, my takes, my predictions, all of that great stuff. And then, of course, we went over all of your guys' comments, questions, concerns, everything related to the Mets, some other baseball teams. The Mets farm system was definitely relevant. The Mets front office, Mets offensive production, the Mets pitching, injuries, all of that great stuff. So, yeah, went over that. Definitely all great things. Appreciate everyone for tuning in. Like I said, please, everyone, smash that like button, turn on those post notifications, tell your friends about this channel, of course. If you have any comments, questions, concerns, anything great in the comment section below, please feel free to comment it below. If you are rewatching the stream on replay, let me know in the comment section below. Say what's up. Tell me you stayed for the hour mark almost. But yeah, otherwise, that is really it on my end. Like I said, everyone, smash that like button, hit that subscribe button, tell your friends about this channel. If you have to make an account for your dog, please do. That'd be great. But yeah, with that said, appreciate everybody for tuning in. And yeah, that's really it for me. LFGM, let's go Mets. Let's like to sweep the series. Let's try and get, 2 games above. That'd be great. Just win the series, take 2 of 3. That's really all I'm kind of asking for. But yeah, otherwise, I appreciate everybody for tuning into today's stream as always. And yeah, I guess let's go Mets, baby. LFGM, let's ride.